I also think that, you know, we were pretty much in a situation where if one guy screwed up, they're gonna get a lot of yards, and I think that puts too much stress in order to successfully defend them. I mean, because you're talking about any given play, there'll be three guys, say, at the point of attack, and for all three of them to play perfect every time, I think it's pretty challenging. So I didn't think I think we approached it aggressively, which I liked at the time, but I didn't think it was the best approach in hindsight.
Obviously, you guys are all about Arizona this week, but everybody around here knows what's around the corner with Washington. You've mentioned this team's ability to focus on whatever task you put in front of them. How important is it in a week like this before a big rivalry game, especially with so much on the line?
Well, it's critical we just focus on Arizona, you know, so it's about as simple as that, really. So,
why do you think your team's going to be able to just focus on Arizona?
Well, if we don't, we won't play well against Arizona. I mean, I think we will, and it's necessary, and we need to try to impart that message the best we can. But you know, this week there's the only game we play is Arizona, and there's nothing more important than Arizona. And you know, anybody that does anything other than that is wrong. You know, you're just looking for. You know, you're looking for a lack of preparation and not putting yourself in the best position to be successful. And so we have to just focus on Arizona. So,
Mike, when you look at Kevin Sumlin's streams, how much of your philosophy do you see there?
Well, there's definitely some plays that over the years that I know was borrowed from, you know, our general philosophy and things like that. There's some played against Kevin quite a bit when you consider, you know, he was assistant on various staffs, things like that, you know, that we had in common, both A&M and Oklahoma and stuff. And then, so I know him real well, and he's a fantastic guy, and we do share a lot of the same philosophies. So, yeah, I think he does a good job. I always think he had. Actually, first time I met Kevin Sumlin was at Washington State. He was at Purdue, but see, he'd been at Washington State at one time. And then Mike Price had the one-back clinic at Washington State. And so walked through the door, and there's Kevin Sumlin, who was at Purdue, and Mazzoni, I think, was at Auburn at the time. And they'd known each other from somewhere. Anyway, so yeah, there they are. So you got to meet him in person that day. How about that? And so then, now I was a little bit more thrilled to meet Mike Price because he's a head coach and been to the Rose Bowl and everything. But I was delighted to meet Nolan and Kevin as well.
That would have been in the late 90s.
It was, I can almost tell you. Let me think. So it was let's see. Figure this out. Let's see. Probably 96, maybe.
Was that your first time?
It was probably my second year at the University of Kentucky. Whatever that is. It was my second year at the University of Kentucky. I was in Kentucky at the time.
And that was your first time visiting Pullman ever, too?
Yes.
Yep. Has Kevin told you at all about his first, the 2 years he's been here as a GA and that experience?
A little, you know, just sort of in passing. I mean, we've all had a lot of stops, so then, you know, talk about all of them sometimes, you know.
Coach, your team has caught the national spotlight, you know, and between game day coming to Pullman earlier this year and you putting on the mustache after the game on Saturday.
Well, I didn't really put it on, but I was a victim of a cruel joke, but no, go ahead.
You know, it's giving other people the perspective that this is a fun program to be a part of. How important is that for you as the head coach?
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, you're around each other all the time. You're around each other all the time, and you're around each other just crazy hours. And, so, you better have a good time together. And then I think the other thing that's fantastic is you really get to know folks that are from different backgrounds than yours, and gain an understanding, and it really broadens your horizons as far as stuff you know about, stuff you learn about, and just all the different situations people come from. So I think that's fantastic. And then the other thing is obviously on camera people are a little more guarded, but no, I mean in the locker room. In the locker room downtown, if you see them around town, all that, I mean, everybody's really having a good time. This is a very tight team, and I think that that has helped us to play well.
Why is it that you think some coaches are afraid, or at least apprehensive, to show kind of more of their personalities? I mean, you obviously have no problem showing kind of who you are and a little bit of your personality. Why do you think some coaches?
Well, because you're kind of a pincushion with the media. I mean, the thing is, no matter what you say, I mean, somebody's going to stab you. And so you're trying to get stabbed as little as possible, and some people are more guarded about that. And, and perhaps have a difficulty ignoring it. And then, they feel vulnerable as far as, everybody's trying to do the best they can. There's not a coach that's in the country that's trying to lose or, searching for extra motivation. They're already loaded with motivation because they work hours upon hours upon hours upon hours. Now, things may be imprecise and their team may not play as well as they'd like. They may call or coach plays that are wrong, but everybody's, with rare exceptions, giving full effort, and then be scrutinized, is I think difficult for some. But I figure if I say what's on my mind, there's less to keep track of, and then but occasionally you got to fight back a little bit, So.
You pretty good at ignoring this?
Get better than average. I really think that. I think I'm reasonably good at it, to be perfectly honest. The other thing though, I was in the media for 2 years. I had a national radio show, and me and Jack Root, and then was with CBS, for a year. And I've never believed that the media's malicious. There's a few bad apples. There's a few bad apples out there. I never believed they're malicious, but they're almost like realtors. They just want change. They don't want good news. They'll report good news, but they just want something to happen. Nothing happened today. I mean, they don't want that. I mean, good's fine. I mean, they like good. Some good happens, sure they'll report it. Some bad happens, they'll report that too. So.
Last chance for questions on the phone line for Coach.
All right, that's it.
Back in the room.
Okay, what do we got?
Tammy, go ahead.
All right, we have this week's fan question of the week. Is kind of a fun one. If there was an all-out brawl between all the Pac-12 head coaches, who would be the last coach standing?
Shoot, I don't know. Trying to think through. Well, based on their players, Kyle would be. I mean, those guys hit you as hard as anybody in the conference. Plus he's in good shape. Okay, so let's see, we got Kevin. And I'm definitely not gonna, then Herm Edwards is in great shape. He's in great shape, although we don't play them. Let me think, am I missing anybody? And I don't really care if they get ticked off. Because actually, privately, I think I would, but we're going to be more modest than that. I'm going to say Kyle or Herm for sure. Kyle or her.
Why is that?
Well, they're both in shape. For a while, I mean, simple. This age, if you're in shape, you got a chance. They're both in great shape. You know, you look. I mean, they're both in shape. They both exercise. They, and then, pretty good then successful, background as far as conditioning, all that. And both defensive guys, where they're defensive players, play tough and physical. So, yeah, I think I'd go with Kyle or Herm.
So you kind of think endurance is more so the biggest factor?
And now if you can stay away from him, you'd still be standing. I don't know, maybe one of the distance runner looking guys. I don't know. That's a tough question.
What about like size, like a guy like Mario Cristobal at Oregon?
Well, you don't want to get tied up with him. You don't want to let him get his hands on you because he is big and he's got long levers. You don't want to get those things on you. He would be dangerous though. There's no question. Formidable for sure.
Anything else for Coach?
Coach, hypothetically speaking, if Kookstock were a music festival here in Pullman, which musical acts would you want to play it?
I just heard the Doors driving in, so that'd be a good one. You'd have to resurrect a few people. What bands? Well, I don't know. Can't say I've one, but Leonard Skinner's, Jimmy Buffett, Neil Young, Grateful Dead, Bob Dylan, Bad Company, Jethro Tull, Eagles. Oh my man, I know I'm missing some really good ones.
You've mentioned Marshall Tucker.
Marshall Tucker Band. Radney Foster, a guy that a little more obscure that I listened to before games and used to listen to before every Texas A&M game. Robert Earl Keen, definitely. We have to have him. Toby Keith. You could have Willie there just to kind of supervise the country western crowd, you know. I don't know. There's a bunch of good ones. It's hard to think of all of them. You know, when there used to be a radio in front of you, and then every time you hopped in the car, it was almost, I think, a better deal than having to program it all on your phone and mess around with your phone. Because I try to get away from my phone if it's not a phone call.
You tweeted about Burt Reynolds last night and his, I guess because of the mustache that you put on.
Yeah, well, this whole thing, obsession with it, I guess kind of reminds me of Burt Reynolds, you know. Yeah.
Why?
Well, because first of all, Gardner sort of looks like Burt Reynolds a little bit, and then there is kind of a Smokey and the Bandit vibe with the whole thing. And then he may not even know who Burt Reynolds is. It wouldn't surprise me a bit if he doesn't. I don't know. It just came to mind, you know, really.
Do you think Burt Reynolds has a pretty good mustache?
It was pretty good when I saw him. I met him once. So he would, you know, had a place in Tallahassee, and his godson was on the team at Valdosta State, so he'd come up there for spring football. And we had several Florida State coaches' kids on the team, and so they'd come up, and there'd be Burt Reynolds. Of course, all the ladies wanted to meet him and everything. And in the midst of it, we're down there trying to have a spring spring scrimmage. So yeah, but I don't know him or anything. Just oh, you guys do a great job. You know, it's like one of those things.
Do you think he has like one of the all-time greatest mustaches, or?
It's kind of memorable though, you know. I mean, because I've been thinking about this because there's a lot of mustaches out there, and why is Gardner's taken hold of the fashion that it has, and it is a little curious to me. But part of it, I do think his face carries a mustache well, and then, you know, and just I remember, and some of it's a little generational, but you know, growing up, that was, you know, you always heard about Burt Reynolds' mustache, you know.
As a follow-up to the Pac-12 Battle Royale, not to get you in trouble, but which coach would you least fear?
No, I can't say that. No, we already went down that